Hello everyone, welcome. My name is Riley and I'll be hosting this technical webinar for you today. Hope you're all well. Just before we get started, I'll just go over a couple of things. I'd just like everyone to turn off their notifications and sounds. And sorry, Caroline, that includes you. Just so that everyone doesn't receive any pop-up or sound notifications during the webinar, which can be disturbing. So if you just go to your settings, if you're on desktop, it should be in the bottom right-hand corner, but if you're on mobile, you might need to open the session menu. Once you find settings, you'll need to go down to notification settings, expand the menu, and as on the screen here, just untick all of those boxes, and that will just they'll just make sure you don't receive any of those notifications that may pop up. Yeah, so if you could just do that now, that would be great. And let me know if you have any questions about that. Okay, so today's technical webinar is about how to enhance building decision-making processes through building information modeling. Now, this webinar is being presented by Mrs. Caroline Figueredo, who is one of our lecturers at EIT. Now, just some common questions that we get. So these webinars are recorded. Everyone registered for this webinar, including those who are in this session right now, will receive a copy of the PDF slides and a link to the video recording within the next 2 business days via email. It will likely be tomorrow, so I'll send out the email tomorrow. We also provide a free digital certificate of attendance for live attendees for these technical topic webinars. There will be a link and a QR code at the end of the session today, and basically that takes you to a short form that you need to fill out just in order to receive one. And I will also send those likely tomorrow if you fill it out. So about EIT, just briefly, we are an engineering specialist education provider. We have a range of engineering courses, starting from professional certificates, which are our short courses. We have diplomas and advanced diplomas in the vet sector. We have undergraduate and graduate certificates, bachelor's and master's degrees, and a doctor of engineering in the higher education space. We have industry-oriented programs, so that means that our courses are regularly updated to stay relevant with the industry and ensure you have the best graduate outcomes. We have our vocational and higher education degrees registered and accredited by the Australian government, and we also have programs that are also recognised internationally under one of the 3 international engineering accords, so the Sydney, Dublin, or Washington Accord. We have industry experienced lecturers, so not only those who are involved in academia, but a lot of our lecturers are working engineers, and they can apply their real world knowledge to their teaching, which makes a better experience for everyone. We have a unique delivery model, including live and interactive webinars, similar to the one you're in today. However, this is a large session, so there's already nearly 130 attendees today. However, we have small class sizes if you're a student in one of our courses. And as I mentioned, our expert lecturers, we have dedicated learning support for our students and state-of-the-art technologies such as hands-on workshops, remote laboratories, and simulation software. Okay, so this is the agenda for today. I've just introduced the session. I'll hand over shortly to Caroline. But basically, we'll be talking about what BIM is, BIM Dimensions, the building life cycle, enhancing building decision-making processes, the advantages of BIM Solutions, and then we'll conclude the session and we'll hold a short live Q&A session. So if anyone has any questions at the end for Caroline or myself, you'll be able to put them in the chat box, and then we'll try and answer as many as we can while we're still live. Now, I'll hand over to Caroline, who will be presenting the technical webinar today. Thank you very much, Caroline. Over to you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Riley. So, hello, everyone. Welcome to our webinar about the BIM methodology. First of all, it's a great pleasure to be here with you today to talk about a subject that I'm so interested in. But before we officially start, here we have a brief introduction about myself. So my name in Portuguese is Caroline Figueiredo, but you can call me Caroline or Carol. It's up to you. I'm Brazilian, and I'm a civil engineer with a master's degree in environmental engineering, both from the Federal University of Rio de Janeiro in Brazil. I worked as a visiting researcher at Universitat Rovira e Virgili in Spain, and also at Western Sydney University in Australia. And in both situations, I developed research about sustainable construction. In fact, this is still the main focus of my research nowadays, and I'm focusing on improving the selection of construction materials in order to achieve a smart and sustainable built environment through the integration of the building information modeling methodology, the BIM methodology, which will be the focus, the subject of our conversation here today, and also blockchain. Blockchain is an information technology mainly used in the finance area. Maybe you have already heard about this concept, but related to cryptocurrencies, such as Bitcoin. But my idea is to apply this concept into the construction sector to benefit the decision-making process of construction projects, and also to improve the management of all information generated. So this is the main idea of my research nowadays. I work as a lecturer here in Brazil and also at EIT. And finally, I'm currently developing a book entitled Materials Selection for Sustainability in the Built Environment, Environmental, Social, and Economic Aspects, to be published at the beginning of 2023. So now let's officially start this presentation by discussing what BIM is, what is the meaning of this concept, how can we use this methodology to improve our building projects, our construction projects. But as we have little time here today to discuss such a broad and complex subject, I'll answer your questions at the end of this section, okay? But feel free to ask anything you're curious about in the chat box. If it's possible, I can try to answer some questions during the presentation, but at the end, we will have time for this, okay? But feel free to ask anything you want. So let's officially start by talking about what BIM is. So just a reminder, BIM is not Revit. You might be wondering why I would start this webinar by showing you this picture, since the idea here is to understand what the BIM methodology is, not what BIM is not. But this is a critical point that I want to demystify at the beginning of this presentation, because I don't know if all of you are familiar with the concept of BIM, but for those who are professionals or researchers or even students associated with the construction industry, even those who don't work or don't study directly the BIM methodology, But you must have heard this acronym during your life and the concept of the BIM methodology. And most likely, you've also heard about Revit, because Revit is a famous specialized software for developing civil construction projects. And this software is based on the BIM methodology. But BIM is not Revit. Please don't confuse BIM and Revit. These two words are not synonymous. And it's essential to understand that BIM is not a specific computer program. But why is it important to point out this here? Because unfortunately, many people associated with the construction industry believe that knowing how to use Revit or other software based on BIM, but normally people talk about Revit, people think that knowing how to use a software means applying BIM to their projects, but that's not true. BIM is so much more than a technology. It's a complex design and construction process that helps engineers, architects, designers to create better buildings, smart buildings, more sustainable buildings, efficient buildings. So the BIM methodology is a new way of conceiving construction projects. There needs to be a change in behavior and thinking among professionals for the BIM methodology to be fully applied in construction projects. So Revit is a program based on the BIM methodology. But in fact, there are dozens of other BIM-based computer programs. Here are some examples. So many professionals here in Brazil, I think it's similar in Australia, I don't know in other words, but in other countries, but many professionals here choose to work with Revit, as this is one of the most used BIM-based tools in the world. And it's a very complete software that allows users to do different kinds of building analysis, building simulations. And in fact, Revit has many interesting modeling tools. But there are several other tools focused on BIM modeling, such as ArchiCAD, which is also a very robust and complete software, but there are many others. For example, I usually use Navisworks, this software, not only for clash detection, but also here for analyzing the construction sequencing. And I also love to use Dynamo during my research. Dynamo is a visual programming language for Revit that can help a lot to improve productivity in a BIM workflow. But in fact, it's up to the user. If you prefer to use Revit, ArchiCAD, Tekla, Navisworks, it's up to you. The most crucial point that I want to discuss with you today here is that no matter which software you choose, only if you understand the whole meaning of BIM will you entirely use the computer tool. In other words, I can use, for example, Revit or ArchiCAD to create technical drawings for my building project and stop with it. Focus only in the 2D technical drawings. Or I can probably use this software to generate rendering images and rendering videos and focus on the 3D visualization of my project to show my client how the building will look like after construction. And of course, it's a good thing. In fact, all these computer programs are so good for visualization and the design process. They have many modeling tools. So it's a good idea to use one of these programs. But even so, if you use these programs only for visualization and design, you won't be using even 10% of the potential of these programs. And the key to understanding this is in the name of the methodology. So, as you can see, BIM is an acronym that stands for Building Information Modeling. Analyzing the methodology's name, we can imagine the differences between this and other existing methodologies. Here, we will talk about modeling the building information. So, BIM is a concept and a new way of developing building projects. And like I said before, using this methodology, you will model the information, not only create technical drawings or a 3D visualization. So the idea of the methodology is that you can insert all kinds of information about your building project within the same digital model. So we can say that when we use the BIM methodology in our building projects, we are transforming our 3D model into an accurate database about our projects with all kinds of information about our projects centralized at the same place. Okay? So the information is the key here. BIM relies on a single source of truth system. This means that all of the relevant information, for example, models, estimates, design notes, material costs, information about the manufacturers of the building components, the building materials, everything is stored in one place. So in this way, BIM improves communication among architects, clients, contractors, and other relevant parties involved in the construction project. Okay, so I really think this sentence sums up what a BIM workflow is. Build it first as a digital model and see that everything works. So you can use a BIM-based tool to create very impressive 3D visualizations because, as I said before, the tools widespread in the market are so good for geometric modeling, but that's still very little. The idea is that you actually build a digital prototype of your building before the construction stage. So in this way, you can test different alternatives for your building and significantly improve your project's decision-making process. So the idea is to insert all kinds of information and to transform your digital model into a real prototype of your building. So the idea is to construct digitally your building before the construction stage. So here we have a complete explanation of the BIM concept written by Charles Eastman or Chuck Eastman, one of the pioneers in BIM research. In fact, Professor Eastman started to discuss the idea of BIM in the 70s, so a long time ago, but only with the advancement in computer technology, it was possible to implement all these ideas in a computer program, okay? So, in fact, for those who are interested in studying or applying BIM into your projects, it's a good book to buy and to read. The name of the book is BIM Handbook, and it's all about the concept of the BIM methodology. And one of the paragraphs in this book said this: building information modeling, BIM, is one of the most promising developments in the architecture, engineering, and construction industries. With BIM technology, one or more accurate virtual models of a building are constructed digitally. They support design through its phases, allowing better analysis and control than manual processes. When completed, these computer-generated models contain precise geometry and data needed to support the construction, fabrication, and procurement activities through which the building is realized. So the focus here is on this part. More accurate virtual models of a building constructed digitally. This is the idea, to construct your building digitally before the real construction of the real building, and to have accurate virtual models to test different solutions for your project. Okay? So I tried to summarize the main features that a BIM-based tool should have. So if you start using BIM software, know that you can benefit from these processes, okay? So first we have the design and visualization processes, because when we use a BIM-based tool, we can test various types of solutions for buildings. For example, you can test different construction materials, different construction methods to choose the best ones for each project. And you also can present a complete spatial view of your project, because the BIM process includes multiple visualization tools. So engineers and architects can see what the building will look like in its final form. And it's also possible to see, for example, natural and artificial light, how this will behave in the structure. For example, in the following slides, I will show you some examples of case studies that I developed using the BIM methodology, and I will show you an example of this, how to create a solar analysis to understand how the natural and artificial light will behave in our building, okay? The other processes are quantification and documentation, because in fact, before the BIM workflow, traditionally, what was the idea of a construction project? The idea was to think about the drawings and the visualization process of our project. And when we finalize this part, we have another step to generate all the documents related to our project. So for example, if your client asks for a modification in the dimensions of the rooms, probably it will affect the quantification of materials. Maybe it can affect also the budget of your project. So in a traditional workflow, you would have to come back to the drawings and modify everything, and go to the documents and modify one by one manually, yes? But when we use a BIM workflow, the idea is to insert all kinds of information about our project into our 3D digital model. So after we finalize the design phase, we will have all the information centralized. So we will have an automatic and accurate quantification of materials, automated budget. All the documentation of all information will be automatic and accurate. So if you need to change something in the 3D view, it's not necessary to come back to all the documents and change one by one. It will be automatic because everything is synchronized. So BIM workflow is so intelligent, so smart, and is so efficient, okay? And finally, we have the collaboration and compatibilization, because when we use the BIM methodology, we will have the multidisciplinary participation incorporated, where everyone has a global understanding of the project. So all stakeholders can collaborate and work on the project at the same time in cloud, with the internet. and it minimizes a lot of communication failure among the different stakeholders, the different professionals associated with the project. Yes, and we also have the benefit of compatibilization, because we have the model verification all the time, identifying overlaps, conflicts, errors, and omissions. So these are some processes included in the BIM workflow. Okay. So to sum up, a BIM model can work as a digital prototype of your building, and all kinds of information will be centralized into your 3D model, and all stakeholders can monitor the project progress. So with BIM, we can dynamically connect design, analysis, and documentation in a project. In fact, this is the whole idea of BIM workflow, to analyze different solutions and to document everything since the early design stage of your building project. Okay? So understanding that we can insert different kinds of information in a BIM model, it seems clear that a BIM model can be used for different purposes and different use cases. So this is the idea of BIM dimensions. Specific parameters can be added to the existing information contained in a BIM model based on the project stage or the project requirements. And so these predefined additions can be described as BIM dimensions. So this idea enriches the data associated with a model, allowing for a deeper understanding of a construction project. And the number of the dimension, can increase according to the needs put out in the literature and in the construction sector. So nowadays we have some standard dimensions from 3D BIM to 7D BIM, and we also have 3 new dimensions being discussed in the literature nowadays. So about the 3D BIM, this dimension combines graphical and non-graphical information to create 3D models and distribute that information in an accessible, traceable, and transparent way in which all stakeholders can work with the data produced. Then we have the 4D BIM, which is the process of inserting a timeline and scheduling data into the 3D digital model. So this dimension assists in demonstrating how the project will evolve over time, which is extremely useful in, for example, detecting early stages conflicts. Okay. Then we have the 5D BIM, which is the process of inserting cost data into the 3D digital model. So this dimension has fostered new and potential improvements in terms of efficiency, quality, and precision during cost management processes. Then we have the 6D BIM, which is my favorite dimension because I'm currently working with sustainability, so I use this dimension a lot during my projects and my research too. But the 6D BIM is the process of considering the sustainability aspects associated with a building. So it includes information and data to benefit the building sustainability analysis, considering environmental, social, and economic aspects. Because remember, it's important to know that sustainability is based on 3 different pillars: the environment, the economy, and the society. So when we use the 6D BIM, we analyze all these aspects together to achieve sustainability in our building projects. And finally, we have the 7D BIM, which is the process that enables professionals to keep track of critical asset data, such as warranty information, technical specifications, maintenance manuals, operation manuals. So this dimension is related to facility management, okay? And we also have 3 other dimensions of BIM already being discussed in the literature. And of course, there will be more in the coming years according to the needs of the construction industry, the needs of researchers and professionals. So these 3 new dimensions are associated with safety. So the prevention of accidents in the work field, the lean construction. The lean construction is an approach that tries to manage and improve construction processes with minimum cost and maximum value by considering customer needs. And also the final dimension until today, of course, is based on industrialized construction, okay? So, besides the BIM dimensions, it's also important to understand a little bit about the building life cycle, because even though BIM benefits are most evident in the design and construction process, clients may also note a significant improvement in build quality. So using BIM makes calculations and models, for example, more detailed, more accurate, and this will result in a higher quality building, of course. So in fact, we can use the BIM methodology to help maintain a building throughout its whole life cycle, from the raw material extraction, passing through the manufacturing stage, the construction stage, the operation and maintenance stage, until the demolition phase, and finally the disposal, reuse, or recycling of materials. So this discussion is still in its infancy in the literature. Normally, the professionals use the BIM methodology during the design stage of a project, and after the construction stage, normally people forget about the digital model. But it's not a good idea, because you will have a 3D digital model with all information about your project centralized. So you can continue inserting information about the operation and maintenance phase of your building, and also about demolition, for example. It's possible to use BIM to improve the demolition stage of a building. So integrating BIM in demolition or in deconstruction is considered an effective pre-deconstruction audit to assess the recovery, reuse, and recycling potential of building components and materials. So if you put information about all the building components, the building equipment, you will have the information to analyze the better way to demolish your building, okay? So we can use the BIM methodology through the whole life cycle of the building. So the secret to enhancing the building decision-making process is to understand that your BIM model is a fantastic tool with all kinds of information, of building information, centralized. And you know that information is worth a lot, right? So when you use the full potential of BIM methodology, not only using software to do visualization or rendering, but also inserting information and use all the analysis possibilities, simulation possibilities, you will have information about health and safety. We can analyze the life progress reporting, the documents and drawings, the reports and dashboards, the quality inspections. We will have a real-time collaboration in our projects, And also we will have forms and workflows generated automatically. So there are many advantages in using BIM in our projects. Here, for example, are some examples of simulations and building analysis that you can do using a BIM model. In just a few minutes, you can analyze different aspects of your building without spending any money more in your budget, and you will deliver a much more efficient, more sustainable, and a smart building. So it's so interesting to understand the whole concept of BIM before starting to use a BIM-based tool, okay? Because you will know all the possibilities of that tool. So in this graph, we can see on the x-axis the construction project stages. So planning phase, schematic design phase, construction documents, and construction phase. And we have two curves here being represented in this graph: the cost of change and the opportunity for influence in the building project. So we can see that in the earlier on a change, the earlier on a change is suggested, the higher the opportunity for influence and the lower the cost of making suggested modifications. Once the design becomes finalized and the construction phase begins, the cost of making changes increases drastically, and the possibilities for making changes become far more restricted. So that's why it's a good idea to start implementing BIM in a construction project during the early design stages, okay? Because at this point, we can entirely use the BIM potential to compare different solutions for our building. Of course, we can use BIM from later steps. For example, a new concept has been discussed in the literature related to the application of BIM for historical buildings. I don't know if you have heard about this, but the name of the concept is Heritage BIM. And it's a great idea to use BIM to improve the management of heritage historical buildings. But thinking about new buildings, we certainly have many advantages in applying the BIM methodology from the most preliminary stages of design, okay? So here we have almost the same graph showing the cost of design change and the ability to impact cost and performance. But now we have two more curves comparing a draft-centric workflow, a traditional workflow, and the BIM workflow. So as illustrated by the red curve, the red line in this graph, by dynamically connecting design, analysis, and documentation in a BIM workflow, the majority of the effort in a design project is shifted back into the detailed design phase, where the ability to influence project performance is high and the cost of making design changes is low. So engineers, in this case, using BIM workflow, engineers, architects, designers can now spend more time evaluating what-if scenarios to optimize the design and less time creating construction documentation, because you
Hi everyone. It seems like Caroline has lost connection. We'll just wait a minute or two and see if she joins back. Hopefully it's just a temporary problem. We'll just wait, yeah, until she joins back.
Hi, can you hear me?
Hi Caroline. Yes, we can.
Oh, sorry everyone. It's raining a lot here in Rio and my internet is complicated today. Sorry about that.
No, that's okay. Please
Um,
continue. No worries.
okay. So we were talking about this graph and the possibility of focus on evaluating what if scenarios to optimize the design during the design, the detailed design. And we will spend less time creating construction documentation because during the design, we will insert all kinds of information into our 3D modeling. So the generation of documents will be automatic, as we talked about earlier. So this is another advantage of using BIM, okay? And finally, these other rev
Hi everyone. Sorry, it looks like Caroline's just having some more internet issues. Caroline, sorry, if I could just ask just for the rest of the presentation. Oh, sorry, she's gone again.
sorry.
Hi,
Now I
Caroline.
put
That's
my,
okay.
sorry. So let's
That's
continue.
okay.
Now I think it's okay.
I was just going to
So,
ask if it's okay. It might be even better if maybe you turn off your video for the rest of the presentation. That might improve the connection. That could possibly help
okay.
if that's okay.
So can you repeat, please? The idea is to.
Just turn off your video so stop
Oh, okay, okay.
sharing
Sorry.
video.
Perfect.
That
Okay.
should improve the connection.
Oh, great. Perfect. I did
No worries.
this. So again, regarding the project documentation, it's also important to highlight the quantity and the quality of information generated during a construction project. So by utilizing traditional methods, when teams move from one phase to another in the project, some information from the previous phase is lost. So on the other hand, BIM allows the establishment of continuous flow of information. Every stage of the building process is digitally documented from early planning and design to construction, operation, maintenance, and final recycling. Okay? So I believe it's clear now how many advantages exist related to the BIM application. But one great advantage of using a BIM software is the parametric modeling. This image, this picture is the Revit interface for those who have never used this program. And this picture shows us different views for the same project. But the designer has focused on the development of the floor plans or the ceiling plans, all in a 2D view. And the 3D view has been generated automatically using the parametric modeling. So parametric modeling refers to the relationships among all elements in a project that enable the coordination and change management. So these relationships are created automatically by the software. So if you change, for example, something in a 2D view, the software will immediately determine what is affected and reflect it to any affected elements. So a fundamental characteristic of Revit or other BIM software is the ability to coordinate change and maintain consistency at all times. You do not have to intervene to update drawings or other content. When you change something, the BIM-based tool will capture the relationships and will propagate building change. So the result of this is a reduced time to create drawings and revisions, okay? So here we have other advantages of BIM solutions divided by the building stages. So during the pre-construction, we have different project alternatives being tested quickly. We can analyze the costs, human resources, energy, acoustics, lighting, impacts, everything using our digital model. We have the improvement in the decision-making process, as I said before. We can work collaboratively without loss of information, and the design interference between disciplines are corrected before construction. During construction, we have a constantly monitor project progress in real time. We have also a safer construction because as we put all information about the equipment, about the workers, about the materials in our digital model, we will be able to predict hazards in advance, okay? If changes need to be made during the construction work, the projects can be easily updated and modifications can be tested on the digital model. And use the BIM model linked to virtual reality or even augmented reality can be done to help monitor the work, okay? And during the post-construction, we have the project evaluation made quickly, as all information related to all phases of the project is centralized in the same digital model. The decisions made in other phases can be audited, and lessons applied to future projects can be generated. And finally, the BIM model can be fed with information regarding the use and maintenance of the building so that the digital model can be used as a tracking tool. Okay, so these are some advantages of BIM solutions. And here we have a case study that my team developed together. In this table, for example, we have information about the components considered standard design in Brazil. And here, standard design about the exterior walls, about the floors, okay? And we also have a list of possible alternative materials established in line with what is available on the Brazilian market. So I only put some examples here in this slide, but we tested several alternatives about walls, floors, ceilings, windows, doors. And these alternatives were tested and compared in this case study via simulation in Revit, okay? So here we have some results of this study. So this graph illustrates that applying the optimal building components could significantly improve the energy efficiency of the building envelope compared to the standard building design. So here we have the results about life cycle electricity use, life cycle fuel use, and life cycle energy cost for the standard design of Brazil. And after this, we run simulations modifying the walls, the floors and ceilings, the windows, the doors. And finally, we choose the best option of wall, the best option of floors and ceilings, windows, doors, and put in the final version of our model and run the simulation again to compare the results about energy use and energy cost for this case study. And we have a significant improvement in the energy use, in the energy cost in this project. Here we have another case study. In this research paper published in 2021, we focused on the cost-effective reductions in thermal heat gain via building envelopes. So we have achieved this by maximizing the daylighting that a building requires, and with an optimized choice of materials and construction building systems. So 2 case studies were examined to validate its applicability in this paper. The first case study is a granny flat with two bedrooms, 1 bathroom, a laundry, and a living room with a kitchen, located in Sydney, Australia. And the second case study is a commercial building with 2 floors and 9 office spaces per floor. So here we have an example of one of the solar simulations performed to generate the solar heat at each side of the building, and it was made using Revit. And we also have some great results achieved through BIM. We could optimize the daylight, the building cost, and the heat gain in both case studies. Okay. And to finalize our presentation, our webinar here, I would like to tell you that the BIM methodology by itself has many advantages, but we can also integrate BIM with other concepts that already existed in the market, in the literature. For example, we can use BIM to generate a building digital twin. A digital twin is a set of realistic models that simulates the physical asset with its real-time properties, condition, and behavior across the entire life cycle. So this concept has been used in different industries, such as manufacturing, healthcare, retail, but nowadays, in the last few years, researchers started to use this concept into the construction sector. So the idea is to integrate the BIM model with Internet of Things and to create a real prototype of your building. So you will put IoT systems and sensors in your real building, your physical building, to collect real-time data to be processed. And this information will come back to the BIM digital twin to predict data to be managed, and it will improve the decision-making process of building projects. Okay? Another possibility is to integrate BIM and blockchain, which is one of the focus of my research nowadays. I'm trying to integrate these 2 concepts. It's an innovative attempt in the literature, but it's possible because when we model a building using BIM, we will have all the information centralized. So it's easier to synchronize everything through blockchain. Okay, not only the modeling, but also all the information regarding building assessments. So the idea of this webinar is to talk to you about all the advantages, and it's only the beginning, because there are many advantages of using BIM. But it's important not to use the BIM-based tools only for visualization and design. When we create a BIM model in our computer, we have a fantastic tool in our hands to be used to improve the decisions to be made across the entire life cycle of the building. So the idea is that to understand the BIM model as a real prototype, to insert all kinds of information and to benefit the creation of better buildings. We have to think about sustainability, we have to think about efficiency, the minimization of cost, of time. So it's all possible using BIM tools, okay? So the idea of this webinar was that. Thank you so much for the opportunity. Thank you so much for being here today. And sorry about my internet, but I hope it was okay for you guys. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Caroline. That was great. And yeah, the internet issues is fine. And we had a lot of people commenting in the chat box as well. So I think everyone really appreciated that. Before we get to the Q&A session, I'd just like to highlight to everyone, if you'd like to attend any of our upcoming technical webinars, you can. Just go to our events page on our website, and you can see there's 4 upcoming webinars there, but there's plenty more on the way. I'll be publishing some more tomorrow. So just keep checking that events page regularly if you'd like to attend upcoming webinars. And Caroline's also kindly doing another webinar for us on the 23rd of June, the importance of considering the 3 sustainable pillars in construction. So yeah, if you enjoyed this webinar, you might want to register for that one in particular. So that one's on the 23rd of June. You can register on the events page. And just a quick overview of our courses. So the short courses that I mentioned at the start of the webinar, our professional certificates, they start throughout the year. So we have many different professional certificates in different disciplines, and they run throughout the year. So they each professional certificate has its own set of intakes. So they're 3-month short courses. Then we have diplomas and advanced diplomas. Same thing. They all have their own different intakes. The best way to have a look at those is to go to our schedule page, and it will show all of our courses upcoming, sorted by date and intake. We have our undergraduate certificates and our bachelor's degrees and our Doctorate of Engineering starting on the 25th of July. So they're our online versions. Our graduate certificates and master's degrees starting the 27th of June. And if anyone's interested in studying on campus with EIT in Australia, at one of our 2 campuses, either in Perth or Melbourne, we have on-campus bachelor's, master's and Doctor of Engineering programs starting on the 1st of August. And this is the certificate of attendance. So if anyone would like to request a certificate of attendance for this session, please do so by, you can either scan the QR code with your smartphone if you have it there. Otherwise I'll put in a link in the chat box now. If you don't have access to a smartphone camera, I'll just post that link there. So there's that QR code.de link that I've just posted in the chat box. That'll take you straight to the form that you need to fill out in order to receive a certificate. And just make sure that the email address, well, your first name, your last name, and your email address is correct. Those three fields are the most important. I have some people that don't receive their certificates because they misspell their email address, or they come back and wanting to edit the certificate because their name is showing up wrong. So just make sure all those details are correct. And then there's just a short little survey just to say whether you enjoyed the webinar today, and if you have any feedback for us. So I'll just leave that slide up for a few more seconds, and I've posted that link in the chat box anyway. But basically, if you submit the form, I will send out those certificates within the next 24 hours, likely sometime tomorrow. Great. Okay. Well, that concludes the end of the presentation. I'm just skipping over the Q&A slide because I just like to leave all the contact details up on the screen. If you need to go, thank you very much for attending today's webinar. I really appreciate you coming along. And as I said, all the PDF slides and the video recording will be sent out via email tomorrow. So yeah, thank you. But otherwise, we will take questions now. So if anyone does have any questions, please put them in the chat box now, and we'll try to answer them for you while we're live. There was a question from someone about a certificate course in hydrology and water resources engineering. I'm sorry, I don't know if we are introducing that type of course in the future, but if you send me an email, I can definitely follow that up for you. If you're referring to one of our professional certificate courses, just send me an email. My email is webinars@eit.edu.au. Just send me an email, and I can follow that up for you, definitely. Caroline, I think you have a couple of questions from Jean here.
I saw some questions. I don't know if I found everything, but the first question I saw is from Jean-Pierre about BIM. He said, BIM is a dream come true to simply processes. However, the catch here is that the software used for BIM is expensive and work on subscriptions, making it only ideal for big companies, cutting out the small guys. And unfortunately, it's a problem nowadays because, for example, for my research, I can use the research subscription. So that's why I can use different software to test and to choose the best one for each project, each case study. But unfortunately, all software are so expensive and we have this limitation. But that's why I think it's important to discuss the whole concept of BIM methodology, because it's not related to a specific computer program. If you have to change the application you will use in your office during your project, if you understand the whole concept of BIM, you will apply this with whatever software you choose or whatever software you can pay or so on. So, but unfortunately, it's a problem. Maybe that's why some professionals around the world don't use the full potential of BIM because it's complicated to apply all the ideas with this scenario. Yes, unfortunately. Vicky, I don't know, sorry, how to pronounce, asks about, is it true that BIM only fits or useful for big projects? No, it's not true. We can use BIM for all types of building projects. In fact, we can use BIM for infrastructure projects and other kinds of construction projects, not only for buildings, but for residential, industrial, and commercial buildings. BIM is so widespread in the market, but we can use the same functionalities for a small house or a big building, okay? So a huge building. So it's not true. We can use all the functions for every type of project. Did you see other questions, Riley?
Yeah, if you just scroll down, we've had a few come in over the last 5 minutes.
Okay, yes, sorry. Yes.
We've got I think the first couple of questions were from Jean Pierre. If you can see those.
Maria asked about using BIM for horizontal projects such as bridge, dam, and slope protection. And yes, we can use the whole concept of BIM for all kinds of construction projects. It's possible, and there are specific BIM-based tools focused on this kind of project. Does BIM manage the project as well, just like Primavera? Oh, it's a good question. Primavera is a software to create the schedule of your project and to analyze the scheduling data. It's not a BIM tool, but you can integrate this with your BIM modeling. For example, using Navisworks. I cited this software at the beginning of our presentation here today. Navisworks is a BIM-based software focused on the management of the building. So you can upload, for example, the MS project file or the Primavera file and integrate this with your BIM model. So, of course, it's necessary to create organized workflow to work with it, because if you, for example, create activities in your schedule using specific keywords and use these keywords during your 3D modeling, the Navisworks will automatically connect the file from Primavera and a file from Revit, for example. Of course, it's necessary to use a classification system and to use the same keywords for the activities that is related to the building components and building materials, but it's possible. And it's also possible, for example, to link the schedule with the modeling and to generate a video of the future construction. And you can integrate this with virtual reality, for example, to see the advancement of your construction using virtual reality, okay? Is Autodesk Civil 3D a BIM tool? Yes, it can be considered nowadays because it's more advanced nowadays, but it's not, this software has not all the functionalities regarding BIM. Normally, when we think about modeling, we think about Revit, ArchiCAD, Tekla. These softwares are more robust and more complete. Can I get the code for last? No, sorry. Is there a BIM course available at EIT, or is it maybe integrated into existing course? I think it's being prepared, and it will be a course related to this. And in this course, the idea is to create case studies together and to discuss all the possibilities with real projects. So I think it's a near future idea. Is being compatible with media softwares. In fact, BIM is compatible with different kinds of programs and concepts, but it's the idea of the BIM methodology is to allow you to insert all kinds of information about your project into the 3D digital model. But unfortunately, it is the theoretical concept. When we start to use a specific program, we have some technical and computer limitations. So it depends on the software you will buy, you will choose to use. But the main idea of BIM is to allow the users to insert all kinds of information at the same digital model, okay? Any software and recommendation for resource planning at all stages of the project? If you know how to model in Revit, for example, which is a software from Autodesk, the enterprise that has Revit is named Autodesk. This enterprise has many other BIM-based tools. So if you use Revit, for example, it's so easy to use Navisworks to analyze all the planning of all stages. But there are also, for example, a software named UBIM. And this software is focused on the operation and maintenance stage of the building. But there are many possibilities, okay? How can we use BIM in managing safety activities or to design safety program? I will give you an example about Revit, for example, which is the software that I mostly use. In Revit, we have the possibility to program using visual programming language named Dynamo. In fact, in the latest versions of Revit, Dynamo is free. So when you download Revit, you can immediately start to use Dynamo if you want. And with Dynamo, you can create different programs, different codes of programs to improve the workability of Revit. So for example, if you want to insert information about workers and about the equipment to analyze the safety activities during your project, during the construction stage, for example, and it's not possible to insert it directly into your model, it's not because the BIM methodology doesn't allow safety activities to be analyzed. It's a computer limitation. It's the software limitation. But you can create visual programming and insert these kinds of information in a different way. So it's a possibility too. Okay.
Thanks, Caroline. I believe we've gotten through all of the questions so far. And Samuel, the link to download, so there's a form you need to complete if you would like to receive a certificate of attendance. If you're referring to the slides that have been used today, they will be sent out via email tomorrow. Unfortunately, I think that's all we have time for today. But thank you, Caroline, for presenting and everyone for attending today. It's been a great session, and yeah, I hope we get to see you again in the future. Please reach out to us. If you'd like to send me an email, just use that email address on the screen there, webinars@eit.edu.au. Feel free to get in contact with me. And yeah, and thank you again, Caroline. Everyone really appreciated that webinar. So
Thank you so much for the opportunity. Thank you guys for attending. It was such a pleasure for me. Thank you very much.
no worries. Have a great day, everyone. And if you'd like to see Caroline again, please register for our next webinar on the 23rd of June. Hope to see you all very soon. Thanks, guys.
Yes. See you.